In India, a bomb kills former Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi as he campaigns for a political comeback. President Bush, 13 pounds lighter and still tired, says he has an official clean bill of health. And if you are 55 plus, you may have just the plus employers need. This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. Good evening. India's Rajiv Gandhi was assassinated today. 46 years old, he was a former prime minister trying for a comeback. Gandhi was killed by a bomb as he arrived for a campaign rally in southern India. 14 other people were also killed. No one has claimed responsibility. Tom Fenton has our report.
The assassination of Rajiv Gandhi ended a political dynasty that has dominated India since its independence in 1947. Rajiv had been campaigning in this week's elections to regain the prime ministership he lost in 1989. He was seen as the front runner in a three-way race. This has been the most violent election in India's history. Hundreds have died in Hindu and Muslim rioting, and there have been widespread charges of ballot rigging. Rajiv promised the voters sweeping reforms.
Well, a government that brings about very rapid change, changes the methods of functioning of the government, and involves the people much more in nation building.
Despite a previous attempt on his life, Rajiv had lowered the security around him. He plunged into adoring crowds throughout the vast country.
You have to take some precautions, and you take those precautions. But you don't let it weigh on you.
If you did,
it doesn't
you
at all.
function.
Yes. You'd better give up and go home then.
Rajiv was the grandson of India's first Prime Minister, Nehru, who took office at independence. In 1984, Rajiv's mother, Indira, was assassinated by one of her own bodyguards. Her funeral was a state occasion that left the nation mourning and won her son the sympathy of the Indian people. A career airline pilot who became a reluctant politician, he was propelled into office as Mr. Clean, the prime minister who would sweep out India's ingrained corruption. Ironically, he himself was swept from office in 1989 on charges of corruption within his Congress party. Just last week, he said one of his aims was to restore India's position in the world.
I believe that India, which had a certain position in international affairs in the world community, has more or less disappeared from the world scene during this past year or 15 months.
Today in the United States, his country was the focus of a wave of sympathy and concern. In Congress, there was a moment of silence for the slain candidate. President Bush expressed his own sorrow.
It's just appalling. I don't know what the world's coming to, but it's a sad thing for this young man to have lost his life in this way. It's a tragedy.
As friends and supporters gathered outside the Gandhi home in New Delhi this evening, there was concern that India could be swept by a new wave of violence. Tonight, the Indian Army and police are on a high state of alert. The world's largest democracy now looks like one of the most fragile. Dan?
Thanks, Tom. White House officials made a point again today of accentuating the positive about President Bush's health. The president tires easily, and he's lost 12 to 13 pounds since his heartbeat and thyroid problems surfaced. Susan Spencer has the latest on the president's medical condition. Susan?
Dan, no fewer than 4 doctors, 2 cardiac specialists, and a thyroid expert, including them, examined the president this morning in a quickie 15-minute checkup. And they then said that he remains on a satisfactory course in the treatment of Graves' disease. All that despite Mr. Bush's apparent fatigue in the last week or so. Doubts grew yesterday at an early evening appearance with German Chancellor Kohl. Mr. Bush looked pale, tired, sounded hoarse, and with the simultaneous translation droning on, seemed a bit distracted. But this morning, the president was acting downright frisky.
You sounded bad yesterday.
In the doctor's report, he has started to gain back a few of the 12 pounds he had lost. He continues on 4 medications, but soon will begin tapering off the 2 for irregular heartbeat, which hasn't come back. As for the president's hoarseness, the doctors attribute that in part to his treatment, and other experts say the fatigue is no surprise.
Certainly the fatigue is part of the disorder of hyperthyroidism, and the time course is such that we wouldn't expect to see it completely revert by now.
Mr. Bush's schedule has been scaled back, but the press office here emphasizes that he is carrying on his full responsibilities. What's been dropped are the expendable events, things like photo opportunities with high school debate teams and things like that. Dan?
Susan, past White Houses, when the White House was in both parties for that matter, haven't always been candid about the president's health. How confident can we be that we're getting the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Well, I think it's important to remember that press offices do tend to paint the rosiest picture of everything. On the other hand, there's no evidence at all that we're not learning the full story about Mr. Bush's condition. And I think what is really interesting here, though, is that the White House is having a little difficulty coping with a new reality, which is that the president's health is now a valid political issue. And that wasn't true just 2 weeks ago.
Susan Spencer at the White House, thanks. With good reason, many Americans are worried about losing their jobs. Despite laws against age discrimination, older workers are frequently hit hard in layoffs. But the stereotype of the older worker who can't keep up with changing times is being disproven on the job and in a new study out today. Doug Tennell has our report.
26th and 27th of May, Fort Myers, Florida.
This is not a charity phone-in or a job training center for the elderly. It is the nerve center of a nationwide hotel chain that has entrusted computer sales and bookings to a group of senior citizens. And they are not alone. At this Connecticut office, the third largest insurance company in America employs a team of retirees as troubleshooters for its policyholders. It is a trend that some say will change the job market of the 90s. Older Americans are coming back to work. And a study released today claims that hiring them isn't just a good deed, it is good business.
If we were able to put those people to work, we'd have a $190 billion increase in our economic output per year at a time when we desperately need that.
Research on job performance of employees over 55 at 3 different corporations that have made hiring the elderly company policy shows that older workers can be easily trained for high-tech jobs, are flexible about work schedules, have lower absenteeism and lower turnover than the young, and are often better salespeople.
We tend to think about older people in terms of long-term care and the effects they're having on the high cost of health care services, whereas there are millions and millions of older people who are healthy and want to work. And what we found in our studies is that they're productive, active people.
Like Mary Seymour at 83. She insists a 19-hour work week at the insurance company where she has worked for 60 years keeps her youthful.
I really like working. Because I think if you stay home all the time, you get in such a rut.
Research shows there are now over 6 million older Americans ready and willing to return to work. Ironically, analysts say the biggest roadblocks to hiring them are federal laws. If you are over 65 and go back to work, you stand to lose all Medicare benefits and forfeit most Social Security benefits once your salary goes above $9,700 a year. But America's changing demographics may force a change in laws. The labor pool of skilled young people is rapidly shrinking. And so some seniors advocates believe that before long, many employers will have no choice but to turn to their parents, even grandparents, to lend a helping hand. Doug Tennell, CBS News, Miami.
And still ahead on tonight's CBS Evening News, military budget cuts have politicians covering their bases, among other things, and the passenger wins as airline prices plunge.
Like a blowtorch in my gut. That's how bad my heartburn felt. I went straight to Riopan.
Lab tests show Riopan Plus 2 starts neutralizing acid on stomach contact in 2.2 seconds.
The blowtorch is out.
Try new cherry flavor Riopan.
Your biggest competitor is working on a proposal for the same job you're after.
You want this to be enlarged?
They have about the same idea as you do.
Copy this slide.
The only difference is...
Let's print it.
They own a Canon color laser copier, and you don't. Who would you give the job to? If you think you can't afford a Canon color laser copier, maybe you can't afford to be without one. Call 1-800-OK-CANON.
A company can learn a lot in 125 years. As you learn, you make your product better and better. 125 years of quality. That's why people who know use Valvoline.
With rebel forces advancing toward the capital of Ethiopia, the Marxist president resigned today and not only got out of town, he got out of the country. The 14-year rule of President Mengistu was marked by constant civil war, blamed in part for the starvation death of at least 1 million Ethiopians. His resignation comes a week before the start of U.S.-backed peace talks. President Bush said through a spokesman he hopes the departure of the Ethiopian president will now clear the way for peace and democracy in that country. On Capitol Hill, the rush is on to rescue dozens of U.S. military bases now targeted for cutbacks and outright closure. At stake, a lot of people's jobs on and off the bases. Bob Schieffer reports on hitting back at the hit list.
Unless you live close by, you've probably never heard of this place, Whidbey Naval Air Station out in Washington State. But for a while today, it was a linchpin of the national defense.
The proposed closure of the Whidbey Naval Air Station, we believe, could be a great disaster for the Navy.
Whidbey provides unique all-weather training opportunities that cannot be duplicated.
Closing NAS Whidbey would cost more than it will ever possibly save.
Whidbey's moment in the spotlight came at a Capitol Hill meeting of the Federal Commission that is reviewing the Pentagon plan to close scores of military bases across the country. But it could have been called Hawk for a Day, because the stream of congressmen who trooped before the committee had only one message: don't close the military base in my hometown.
It seems to me we'll be undercutting our capacity if we cut Lowry.
Whether they're frequent critics of the Pentagon like liberal Democrat Pat Schroeder, Lowry Air Force Base is in her backyard, by the way, or opponents of big government like this Reagan conservative,
that the closing of the Long Beach Naval Station is the wrong decision.
this is the one time of year when everyone in Congress can be counted on to stand up for the military, in their hometown, that is. And with millions of federal dollars at stake, the arguments run the gamut.
We have, as I said, the best housing in the Army.
The historical record shows that the government rarely makes any money by selling a closed base.
As far-fetched as some of the reasons sound, the 150 congressmen who are making the case this week for their hometown bases do have a point. The Cold War has made defense spending such a huge part of the national economy that even the noble task of scaling back can't be accomplished without inflicting enormous economic pain on millions of Americans. Bob Schieffer, CBS News at the Capitol.
Some good news today for Americans heading into summer vacation strapped for cash. Flying there just got a little cheaper. Trouble is, it could drive the airlines further into the ground financially. Business correspondent Ray Brady has a report.
It's a real war, but every shot that was fired in the Gulf also hit these airline ticket counters. Americans stopped flying. So the desperate airlines started an air war today, slashing ticket prices 20%.
This is the first I heard of it, and I think it's marvelous.
They're desperate to generate business because the summer travel demand is very low right now.
While most lines are cutting, here are two examples from American. Round trip Dallas to Los Angeles was $378. Now you can fly it for just $318. Boston to San Francisco was $518. This summer, that's down to $398. But, warn airline analysts, everything that glitters in the ads may not be golden.
Relative to the discounts of past years, there's probably a little bit more hype than value in the fare offerings this year.
To shoot down the competition, one airline even brought in its own general.
Was won by America West Airlines, who have reduced full coach fares up to 40%.
But is this an air war where the airlines become the casualties? The Gulf and the recession, plus cut-rate tickets sold in the past, have left many of them in a financial tailspin.
For some carriers, it is a fight for survival. Continental, Midway, Pan Am are in Chapter 11 bankruptcy proceedings, and others are very close.
Worse, some passengers seem to feel even today's cuts aren't enough to get them back in the skies. Talk to Nancy Barr. She's got a family.
I couldn't afford to pay my children's way, and we just couldn't. We wouldn't go.
So then airline fares are probably still too high.
Right.
If the airline business is down, so is the motel and hotel business. So travelers in some parts of the country this summer may be able to bargain down room prices and have a vacation that doesn't bust the family budget. Ray Brady, CBS News, New York.
Stick in here with us now for more news, including Eye on America. Tonight, a border of discontent Illegal immigrants push north, neighbors push back.
Kellogg's Cracklin' Oat Bran. So crunchy, sweet, and irresistible, it's gotten you in trouble again.
Is that the last of the Cracklin' Oat Bran?
What should you do?
Is that the last of the Cracklin' Oat Bran? Is that the last of the Cracklin' Oat Bran?
With the crunchy, sweet taste of Kellogg's Cracklin' Oat Bran, an open box is an empty box.
Bradley decided to express his artistic talent on the living room wall. Glidden will cover it in one coat. They're so cute at that age. You can't get mad at them. Want to bet? Are you sure you have everything?
Yeah.
Turn around.
I got the Fuji film while you were in cosmetics. I didn't forget.
Oh.
You forgot you married the perfect husband.
You were right, Dad. Kmart's pretty cool. You should listen to me more often.
When minor arthritis pain holds you back, you need strong medicine. Bengay with not just one, but 2 pain relievers. Warming power for fast relief. Bengay helps get you going again. Bengay, fast, strong medicine for pain relief.
If your doctor has recommended Metamucil and you like the results, but you don't like those glasses of thick liquid, change to FiberCon. Get the same fiber action in easy-to-swallow tablets. Get doctor-recommended FiberCon.
What would you do if you thought your boyfriend was married? She hired a detective and invited 48 Hours along. A special edition Wednesday.
In just a short while, under cover of darkness, foreigners will cross into the United States illegally. It happens every night, all along the Mexican border. In tonight's Eye on America, migrant workers from the country next door. As Ron Allen reports, they often do not get neighborly treatment.
It's evening in San Diego County. Residents relaxing at the end of the day. Nearby, these residents are relaxing too. They are migrant workers living in crude makeshift camps tucked into the canyons. More than 50,000 of them are here, many of them illegally. These are the people who work the nearby fields, picking fruit and flowers for low wages. Others stand by the road, waiting to be hired for day work in gardens or construction sites.
Sometimes they think we're taking jobs away, so on the street they give us dirty looks.
Every day the two worlds collide. Tension and trouble are growing in the hills of San Diego as migrant camps encroach on the backyards of reluctant neighbors, like the Scotts, who fear the trespassers on their property.
It's, you might say, a threat to the community alone of never knowing whether somebody's going to come break into your home or attack somebody.
And if immigration happens to come, they'll go behind the posts or they'll go deep in the brush or whatever.
The Border Patrol says arrests are way up, but so is illegal immigration. So the tension grows.
And the home of the brave.
Some residents take their frustration to the border with Mexico, where they hold regular rallies demanding tougher enforcement of immigration laws. They want the military called in.
If we can defend the border of Kuwait, we can certainly defend the border of the southern United States.
Go home! The conflict often erupts at these rallies.
This is America. I have rights. I'm an American citizen.
We're going to have about 4 going over.
But it's at night when increasingly the border tension flares into violence.
I mean, you got one coming behind you.
During the cat-and-mouse game between the Border Patrol and thousands of illegals streaming into San Diego County. The patrol claims the violence is caused by Mexican criminals attacking its agents. But human rights groups say the problem is the Border Patrol, using excessive force to stop peaceful migrants.
I don't know what they want. 300,000 arrests, very few incidents. In my estimation, that's a real tribute to the men and women of the Border Patrol.
On both sides of the border, government officials have called for measures to reduce the violence, disturbed by shootings like the case of 15-year-old Eduardo Zamores last November. Witnesses say the Border Patrol shot him in the stomach at close range while he was atop the border fence scrambling back into Mexico. The agency says Zamores threatened the officer with a rock. Zamores says no.
All I was doing was jumping the fence to come back over here, but when the Border Patrol arrived, they arrived shooting.
His attorney has filed a $9 million lawsuit against the Border Patrol, charging use of excessive force.
There is what I call an invasion mentality. We refer to the people coming across the border as aliens. It connotes people that are coming here to do harm.
As the rhetoric escalates, the divisions grow deeper, and advocates for the migrants say an anti-immigrant climate is encouraging hate crimes out in the neighborhoods.
Me pueden llamar por cobrar.
Roberto Martinez documents hate crimes against migrants for the Quakers. Incidents rarely reported to police because migrants are afraid to come forward. These men claim they were attacked by a group of white youths.
And they jumped out of the car and they started fighting with them.
They hit you?
Yeah. Nobody has the right to shoot them or injure them just because they are here.
Despite the violence, they keep coming here. Some say those in San Diego County who hire them should accept some of the responsibility.
They would like them to be like disposable people too, and disappear at the end of the day. And that cannot happen. So they're here because we need them and we don't want them. But they will not go away as long as there is work.
It's morning in San Diego County, and despite the violence, the resentment, and the growing tension, the migrants come down from the hills in search of another day's work. Ron Allen, CBS News, San Diego.
This is the one you don't want to miss. Sears Home Improvement Sale, and the savings are big. Save $250 on this 12.5 horsepower Craftsman 2 tractor with 5 speeds and 38-inch cutting deck. This Craftsman half-horsepower garage door opener is at a great price. And when the pros from Sears install it, it's even a better value. So don't miss the home improvement sale right now at Sears.
Chris Everett discusses her weakness.
It's not tennis. It's eating. I love rich, creamy foods. But now this isn't a weakness. It's healthy eating, thanks to Kraft.
Kraft introduces Eating Right frozen entrees. Rich, creamy recipes now lower in fat, cholesterol, sodium, and calories.
Weakness? Not anymore.
New Kraft Eating Right entrees. Kraft makes eating right
Delicious.
A company can learn a lot in 125 years. As you learn, you make your product better and better. 125 years of quality. That's why people who know use Valvoline.
Doctors know there's a flaw in eggs. They're high in cholesterol, and diets high in cholesterol and fat can contribute to heart disease. Fleischmann's Egg Beaters are 99% real egg with 0 cholesterol and 0 fat. Egg Beaters, eggs without the flaw.
What would you do if you thought your boyfriend was Mary? She hired a detective and invited 48 Hours along. A special edition Wednesday.
For Britain's Queen Elizabeth, this was a day to remember the Alamo. The Queen got a tour and a reminder that 12 Englishmen were among those who died defending the fort in 1836. The royal couple spent 2 hours in San Antonio, then went on to Dallas and Houston. A new breed of U.S. export was banned today in Britain. It's been blamed for deaths and injuries and is now in danger of being destroyed itself. Peter Van Sant in London has the story.
An American pit bull in London today on death row. Its crime, an unprovoked attack on a man. At a nearby hospital, 6-year-old Roxana Khan, savagely attacked by a pit bull over the weekend, struggles to survive. Her ribs were smashed, her back bitten 25 times.
She's still in pain, you know, and she keeps telling me all the time that she knows what happened. And she dreams about it as well, you know, and she's crying in her dreams.
The vicious attack has outraged Britain, where at least 125 people have been mauled by pit bulls in just the last year.
The pit bull terrier, to my way of thinking, is a killing machine on legs. We refer to it as a Darwinian nightmare.
This afternoon, the government was biting back.
I can tell the House from midnight tonight the import of dogs bred for fighting, such as the American Pit Bull Terriers and Japanese Tosas, will be banned.
Britain's revulsion over the attack on the little girl may lead to the most drastic action ever taken against pit bulls. The government may order the killing of all 10,000 pit bulls in the country.
The pit bull imported from America has a bloody history in the States. 34 Americans killed in just the last 5 years. But the man who brought the first pit bull to England says he regrets nothing, and he doesn't think the dog should be slaughtered.
These are not typical representatives of the breed, but consequently it seems that the breed entire is going to pay the price, and I don't see what kind of justice that is.
The English consider themselves to be the world's greatest animal lovers. The fact they may soon approve the destruction of thousands of pit bulls shows their love stops when man's best friend becomes an unpredictable killer. Peter Van Sant, CBS News, London.
And that's part of our world tonight. Dan Rather for the CBS Evening News. See you tomorrow. Good night.
Reintroducing a glorious name for a glorious new automobile. The 1992 Buick Roadmaster. With its powerful V8 performance and the security of its driver's airbag, ABS brakes, and full perimeter frame, Roadmaster is perhaps the best value in an American luxury sedan. Roadmaster also delivers something only a Buick can deliver. Buick quality.
If the chalky taste of your antacid makes it harder and harder to take, now there's new Mylanta Cherry and Cool Mint Creams, the best tasting antacids, blended creamier for a non-chalky taste.
No wonder my doctor said Mylanta.
I knew something must be wrong. I was getting these sharp pains, and sometimes pressure and bloating. I'm glad I asked my doctor. He said it was gas and recommended Mylacon.
Mylanta's Mylacon Gas. It has the best medicine for gas.
If you don't have AT&T 800 service and trouble hits, who knows how long you could be out? Only AT&T automatically protects you through the 800 assurance policy. With AT&T, you would be guaranteed back in touch in 30 minutes or less. With anyone else? Who knows? But if you do have AT&T, your 800 service is guaranteed. That's not all. Since AT&T connects calls 25% faster and has the fewest block calls, more 800 calls get through, so you can make more sales. With all that, why choose any other 800 service? Better service, better results. Another AT&T advantage. Call now for free installation.
Eye on American Health. If your doctor has AIDS, you'd expect him to tell you. But does he have to tell you? Maybe not. Find out why tomorrow on the CBS Evening News.
This is CBS.